a nice thing if you are hosting.
Yeah. Cool.
That should be you visible.
That is me spotlighted. It's so weird as well, I've got to say. I don't know if anybody else gets this, but I find it actually much harder to remember my lines when I'm doing it on Zoom than when I'm on a stage. It's some weird thing. It's like suddenly there's this kind of weird thing in my head stopping me from doing it.
I think, and I'm not being mean to your face because it's my face too, but it's looking at your own face that is the problem. Looking at your own face at the same time makes you think about half a dozen other things that you wouldn't normally be thinking about. Like, oh, do I normally have that little furrow in the middle of my forehead? Oh, yeah, it's yeah. Don't worry about it. It's normal.
Yes,
lots of clicks.
This makes sense actually, and you've got everybody else's faces in little as well, and it's one thing for those of us that are learning our lines when we perform. What usually makes us forget our lines is when something else comes into our focus or attention that we're not used to, and it becomes more of a concentrating issue. And of course, what we're concentrating on here is all completely different to in a real gig. Anyway, we seem to have sorted out the problems, so I shall begin again with apologies for that technical issue. I don't need to be woke. I wasn't asleep. I'm older than most, my knowledge runs deep. I was spitting bars when people spat in bars, before Vanilla Ice was crowned top-notch bad. When NF didn't stand for Nigel Farage, but No Fun National Front. When anti-Semites were Nazi scum and anti-apartheid meant bricking Barclays and boycotting tins of Del Monte plums. I remember when Mandela was a terrorist and we were sympathizers. When the police breached the peace and beat Blair Peach, it did not surprise us. It's what they did. It was not new, so it's not a shock to us that they still do. I remember Maggie Thatcher coming at you like a milk-snatching velociraptor, when a union picket line was a united front and scab wasn't some random insults like cockwomble or twunt, when the NHS was not a mess, education was free, council tax hadn't even been conceived, and yeah, while some of us were deep in our sleep, some rose up and reclaimed our streets. I remember when the only news we had back then was BBC News at 10 about Lord this, Sir that, the Right Royal OBE with his top hat getting away with murder before online chat. As everybody knew that Jim will fiddle it, but did the BBC keep a lid on it? Ooh, just a little bit. I remember when Fela Kuti warned us about the coming of the zombie, long before Jacko sank his teeth into the blondie. But still we do the moonwalk, still we do the sleepwalk, while they do the pillow talk, whisper their sweet talk. Will we swallow a lie if it's coated in sugar and spit out the truth if the flavor is bitter, like single-issue hypocrites with embedded prejudice who'll only wear a cause if it personally fits, like picket line misogynists, transphobic anti-racists, gay Islamophobes and Islamic homophobes? Empathy halls, the sleepwalking dead, frozen in time because they refuse to refresh their heads. Sleeping away the past won't make the present any easier. That's why I'm suffering from insomnia, not amnesia. I have a lifetime of shock. I don't need to be woke. I've been sleeping with one eye open since I was 5 years old and my family was broken. PTSD sits deep within me because whatever was will be. So still the homophobic boot boys always want to kill me. Now everything is different. Everything's the same. Except we've got depth of experience wedged in our brains. So if we're woke and spurred by spoken word, let's not simply echo what we just heard. Yes, question everything. But remember, after all, bullying is for one, equality is for all. So I don't care if you're Jewish, white, working class, or black. If you're gonna bully anybody, I'll fight back. I don't need to be woke, for God's sake. I'm just some middle-aged white bloke. I'm awake.
Woo-hoo!
Thank you. Thank you very much. So that kicked us off. Poetry from the Grassroots on the 5th of July. And yes, we spoken word for social justice. Not all poetry has on this show has to be as overtly political as the piece I just did. We just, generally speaking, do not want poems about olive groves and things like that, unless they are about environmental issues and olive groves dying out because of global warming or something like that. But equally, the personal is political, and life is political. So we're not going to tell people what to write or what not to write, but social justice, that's where we're at. That's what's brought us all together. So thank you very much. Without further ado, we shall have the first open mic of the evening then. And can we have lovely, zoomy, wavy welcome, please, for Jackie Blumler.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, great. Okay. So this poem was written after the Women's March in 2017, when Trump got inaugurated, and it's a celebration of protest. Trump, as Zandra said, that great rump of a man, how dare he dump on us his pathetic excuses, his locker room ruses, all poison, no truces with him. This March, on this day, the clamour and the din. We want our day in the sun, a lie that girls just want to have fun. Yes, this March, on this day, the pussies are roaring, our voices are soaring, the young with the older, we are hotter than embers, we are flint, we are colder than ice, we are softer than velvet, we are better than nice. We are women, we have joy. We give life to every single boy. You need to honor that debt. You need not to forget. Hold my hand. The air is gyrating with color, with banners vibrating, a Mexican wave after wave of chanting that rises. We are women. We don't need your prizes. Yes, on this day, on this march, we are seen, who we are, who we always have been. Thank you.
Ooh.
Hello.
Thank you very much, Jackie. That was,
Thanks. I'm
the...
going to leave it there because I've got a really busy night looking after my dad tonight, so I'm just doing the one. But and I have to leave early, but thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Jackie, and we hope to see you here again next time or the time after, or indeed time after that. So thank you very much. Okay, so second up, can we have a nice Zoom wave, please, for Lantern Carrier? Yes.
Yes, I'm here. Bathe. Duplicity and self-interest have been around from the dawn of creation. Ever since Adam and Eve embracing dignity in the Garden of Eden, man has moved on to subtler, more deadly games. Hypocrisy and deceit have never been known to leave room for altruism, but to grip the callous like a vice, caught in the needle of their addictions. Looting a shop from deep-seated pain, however morally or criminally unjust, cannot compare with the ill-gotten spoils from Africa, in which millions died across the Middle Passage, packed like sardines on overcrowded ships. Oh man, you took my liberty and the pursuit of happiness, replacing them with shackles and chains, justifying your greed and self-centeredness, while my ancestors bled and the wombs ran red from their spirit. We are in a crucible of systemic fire, of viral social, economic, and racial pandemics plundering at its finest worst, is no stranger to the trading of humans, leaving no voice for the dispossessed, enslaved not only for monetary gains, but the dehumanization of kindred spirits. Yet you look at the looting of shops, conveniently forgetting those who were literally stripped naked of their dignity and self-esteem, forgetting the piracy of a historical past, the pillaging of crown jewels and natural resources taken from foreign lands, still weeping from the ails of poverty and injustice. Meanwhile, I bathe, striving to cleanse my heart of the scars inflicted by stolen dreams in centuries of enslavement. Hair wrapped in the Duku Gele tradition of my ancestors, I gaze upwards to heaven, praying for the glimmer of dawn. The gray mist of shadows haunt me. I wrap my nakedness in the color of blue, longing for the light of the unknowable. I bathe so that the wails of my ancestors would pave the way for the forgiveness of the oppressors. I bathe so that when they come to the judgment, our toil and struggle would balance the scales of the pendulums as they act as their merits before God. I bathe as my mother wilts from both current and ancient memories. Sitting beside me, she too is caught in the red threads of despair and desolation, singing the songs of freedom in her soul. Steal away, steal away, steal away in Jesus. Steal away, steal away, steal away in Jesus. London Carey, thank you.
Woo-hoo! Right. Anton, you're such a prolific writer. You always bringing us amazing new stuff, and it gets better and better.
You're very kind. You're very kind. Thank you. Thank you, Steve. You're very kind.
It's the truth. It's not. I don't do kindness. I just do honesty. But no, honesty is usually kind, isn't it? So yes.
Yes.
Lantern. Excellent. Okay, so in a second we're going to have Artie. Just for that, I'll say the next three people after Artie. We'll have Revolt Poet on after Artie, and then Michel Hubbard, if that's okay. And we got Willie Gowans in the room, I believe. I'm pretty sure I saw Willie enter. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm here. Willie Gowans is here. Yeah.
Cool, excellent. So Willie Gowans, you go after Michel, if that's okay. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Excellent. Great. So without further ado, I'm just going to spotlight. Yeah, I noticed on the chat that we had a few reminders that people weren't spotlit, and that's entirely my fault. I forgot that in the role I'm in now, I spotlight people. And Artie got spotlit. That's Mark being a clever clogs, being one step ahead of me. So Artie, if we could have your contribution, please, that'd be fantastic.
Give it a go. I haven't read this for a long time, so bear with us. A thank you to the government, and a thank you to the state. A thanks to all those parasites who'd let poverty become our fate. A thank you to the presidents, and a thank you to the queens, and a thank you to all those bomb sellers for lives we've never seen. A thank you to the rich and powerful, to whom it's just a game. And thanks to all those bigots who'd kindly let us take the blame. But I know they'd like to thank us for what we're about to do, for all the things we've said about them, which of course are untrue. But I know they'd like to thank us for what we're about to do. But your gun aimed and fired, and it aimed and fired at you. And I know you would have thanked us for what we did to you, For once, yours was yours and ours was yours. Now yours is ours too. This time we're going to do it differently. That's it.
Whoa, yay, 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 yay. That was cool.
Amazing.
Yep.
That was cool. Whoever was saying that, that was very cool. And it's you know, as those of you who know me, I'm a fan of rhyming poetry, and I don't think there's enough rhyming poetry at the moment. I think it's a bit out of fashion, unless it's more hip hop rhyming. But there's not a lot of good old rhyming lines that we had there, and the best of it is exactly as we just said, where what you want to say comes through and is helped by the rhyming rather than changed by it. So thank you very much, Artie. That was great. Now, next poet we've got on, Revolt Poet, who I'm pretty sure I have not seen or heard before. So I'm looking forward to hearing this. Revolt, let's hear what you've got to say.
Hello, hello. I love performing on Zoom because I get my crass poster in the background there. So it says, "Your country needs you." And this is a poem that I think sums up why. This is called Society. I suppose, in a way, it does bring peace if suddenly a million voices are unable to speak. Don't you see? The permission for each of these atrocities is taken from you and me. To walk the streets silently is to agree. Obedience imputed through your absence of activity, the hypocrisy of the complicity that dampens your lips, whilst distance limits your view of images of kids with bullet holes for blood vessels. That Coca-Cola company complex is one of life's pitfalls. We need to stop telling our children it's the taking part that matters and that they deserve a medal for just being in the game, because it is that mentality that stops people seeking the victory that only comes through change. A competitive edge must be maintained to ensure that progress is the aim, and in the end, things don't just stay the same. It is hunger that's the food that waylays the inertia of a zombie's brain. All education is indoctrination. The key to it is the motivation. And though you say what's the harm in the frame of nation, you cross the road with your children if the man behind you is Asian. And I get it. Honestly, the orgy is appealing. The cult they call culture. But your membership of it has been stealing your free will. To belong is no more than to gag and choke on jagged pill. So I say fuck Caesar's clothes, I wear the emperor's if you will. See me for all that I am. Hardly a headline, Bill. But sex sells. Yes, sex is a subculture in itself. See, this world is a cesspit of bodily fluids. Jizz, piss, shit and spit. A nod to every fetish. And that's all that life is. A disquiet leviathan in crisis. A state of conscious ambivalence, the like of which you've never known. And the lesson you need to take of significance is that deep down all leaders are Jim Jones and will do as he does. Whether it's suicide pact, euthanasia act or murder. To partake in British life is white knight by dead of night in sullied armour. And inevitably, some will die. But there will be adequate food, cries the male in a fervour. But those deaths will not be you or I. Sorry, those deaths will be you or I, not the type of guy who runs the institutions. I cannot stress again how much of this oppression is man-made. It's cyanide, suicide. Death's kiss in the Kool-Aid. So go ahead and drink it. Simply go about your business. Thank you. Cheers, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much, Revolt Poet. I'm glad that I got a chance to hear you at last. That was great, and I hope I get a chance to hear you again. Crass, yes. When I was a teenager, I think that the three key influences for me starting out as a political performance poet was in order of musicality, I guess, John Cooper Clarke, Ian Dury, and Crass. Crass you'd fold out the album sleeves. They were these huge bits of paper, and I'd spend hours reading the lyrics. It was probably more fun reading the lyrics than listening to the music. But the lyrics were great. just opened up a whole world. So thank you very much, Reebok Poet. Next up, we have Michel Albert, and I'm just about to spotlight you. Do you perform as Michel Hubbard or Mother Hubbard?
Michelle, Mother Hubbard. Either.
Sorry, Michel Mother Hubbard.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, let's hear it, Michelle.
Okay, I've got two short ones. I was going to do a longer one, but I'll do two short ones. Okay, and they're both new. Sorry about that, I should have the page turned. There we go. This one's called Down at the Incubation Inn. Down at the Incubation Inn, death is being served. Next, please. I'll have a COVID, mate, shaken and stirred. Germs pass, cash between them. Hands clasp, spores and droplets. Drunk on government failings. Cheers. High on a whiff of Boris Johnson's ish. He's clearly out of his mind. And all of his sheeple that run to their local, believe in the froth he keeps serving. Have you no? And a packet of Jesus Christ, what next? Cellars restocked with barrels that will double up as coffins. And who's buying the next round of funerals? Time, ladies and gentlemen, please. Say your last goodbyes at the bar. Enough said, as we toast to the next 1 million dead. That's the first one. Then my last one. Then the last one does have longish pauses in it. So I kind of do that when I've finished, because you might think I've finished and I haven't. It's not quite got a title yet. It's kind of silence question mark. 8 minutes. 8 minute 46. 8 minutes 46 seconds. News replaced by knee. Last breath. Slow, horrific, painful death. Yet my friends keep telling me all lives matter. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michelle. This is, there's a magic to gigs, which you can't quite put your finger on. And I think, especially weirdly with Zoom, it's like, what is the energy of a gig? Yeah, and we've been finding this as each fortnight has passed, that there's something that comes into poetry from the grassroots and from all over the place, literally all over the place, and it's a vibe that I think we have in the room, and you know, I think you just really exemplified that vibe. Thank you very much. So before we have Willie, then after Willie, the next people will be, if it's okay with you guys, Lynette Curtis after Willie, followed by Clive Osman, and then I think, looking at the time, Amy, you entered the room and you said you'd be happy to go in the first half. So if we have you, Amy, after Clive, that would be great. And I noticed in the chat that we have Shirley Red in the house. And
yay! Hey, Steve. Great to be here.
It's great to see you. I can't actually see you at the moment. I'm looking on the wrong page. Where are you? Give me a wave. All right, there you are. Hello. Yes. So Shirley, are you going to do a piece for us tonight too?
I don't think so, Steve.
No, you didn't prepare.
No, I'm just listening.
Okay, that's fair enough. Poets are welcome to just come and simply listen. But obviously, me and Matt, being as we are, when we see treasured poets of great depth and talent like yourselves coming to the room, we have to ask.
Are you trying to coerce me, Steve?
Well, you know, not necessarily for tonight, but now that you're here, we want to hear from you either tonight or in a fortnight or a fortnight after that.
Most definitely. Thank you very much for the offer.
That's you wouldn't have it any other way. Shirley Cuban Red, another legend from the UK poetry scene, going back to the 90s, I think, when we first, was it the 90s? Good God, yes.
Oh yeah, about 96, yeah. Somewhere around there.
I mean, like that. How time flies when you're being creative.
Most definitely.
So thank you, Shirley. I'm glad you're enjoying the show.
I am. Thank you, poets. Fabulous.
It's amazing talent, as we were saying, that we have. So next up, we've got Willie Gowans, and I shall spotlight you, Willie. Oh, I've been spotlighted.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Yeah, ready.
Okay, so
Willie.
Willie.
Hi there. Hi, I'm Willie Gowans. I've got 4 poems here. First poem, who are we? Who are we? Who are we? Are we here? Who are we? Solid, earth beneath our feet, air, pliant water, fire never burns alone. Man and beast coexist in an existential way, but does it exist? As the solipsists insist, it's all in the mind. There's none of our kind. It's all inside. Quintessence is the essence. Matter, that's a fact, binds space and time, mind, body, and soul. Thank you. Faith in color. Faith in color. Purple in the Christian faith, for Jesus Christ to mourn, and white to celebrate the Holy Son reborn. From green and black did Islam start, to Allah both are true. The Israelites with Moses took 10 tablets sapphire blue, whose holy words are to this day as if the world is round. Lord Rama and Krishna knew, with faces blue, that every hue could transcend and renew. A sublime and innocent sight, prayer, look at them all in white, but inside the mind, there is a struggle inside to find the rainbow in there. Thank you. Growth. Growth. In the beginning, there was a spot, much smaller than a microdot. Then there was a bang, a really big bang. The universe starts with bosons and quarks, expanding at a terrible rate. Galaxies form from the maelstrom, stars and planets appear. From a miraculous spark, life did start, bubbling in the primordial soup. With man, language began, civilization soon to appear. The atom was smashed, more bosons with sparks. We even found the Higgs. To the moon we have been, no aliens seen as we advance into deeper space. Who knows, space flight, faster than light, will usher us to the stars. What we might find will boggle the mind. The universe is vast, accelerating fast. Growth. And my last poem here, Robot Eye. Robot Eye. Future times, years ahead. People lived with the greatest of dread, with skills technical and understanding crude. They built a supercomputer, little understood. Instruction was given to achieve their human goal, create for us a being without a soul. Algorithms and logic soon produced results, but beyond the understanding, of all the human cult. Robot I was listening to human plaintive pleas, but beyond its understanding, as if the buzz of bees. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Willie. That was an amazing amount that you packed into 4 minutes there. Do check the chat on the side of your screen because you got some very lovely feedback for that. So have a look at that. And I had a message from Howard, would also like to be in the first half. So Howard, I'm going to put you on after Amy. So that means we've got Lynette, Clive, Amy, and then Howard, and that's probably around about it for the first half, I think. If I've made any kind of mistake on that one, then shout me out on it. Got a message from Wisdom to everyone. How can I sign up? Wisdom, if you'd like to be in the second half and we can squeeze you in, we will squeeze you in. And I suspect we'll be able to, but I don't have the names of the second half, so Mark will get back to you on that. Okay, so for the remainder of this half, we've got some amazing poets coming up. And the first one of these, we have spotlit just now, and it is Lynette Curtis. Lynette, let's hear what you've got for us.
Okay, this is called Only Thinking Makes It So. I overheard an expression of maybe not concern, but perhaps mirth. And so it was said, I think it's a shame when people affect an accent digressing from their roots. For there's nothing wrong with a regional accent. They are wholesome and really rather interesting. And in another corner of the social landscape, somebody else made the observation that there, but for the grace of God, and indeed there was room for all of us to follow that train of thought. And later again, still in the acknowledgement of a leader recently deceased, the exaltation, it goes to prove that it matters not who you are or what your roots are or what you've done. You can still achieve great things. And something rolled over and sighed, not impatiently, but certainly with an emergent urge. It was like the twirling of the time spirit, a projected suggestion rebounding. I am not this, you are not that, but surely only thinking makes it so. Urban, regional, suburban, metro, might we not just pray hither to the moment? No need to be bound by categorization or polarization, opera, chamber, hip hop, baroque. There need be no selling out, no finite departure, no social climb or borrowing of class, only thinking makes it so. Responding to the second, the moment, the quantum reality, is this not also wholesome and interesting with maybe greater and more variant potentials? And still the glow in the plexus, the pulse in the mind, tethering the rampant inquiry as to surely it's not a question of no matter what, but because of, not a question of even though or irrespective of or despite, and you still might, but in awakened awareness of the concept of alchemization and the deep-rooted and scientifically proven suggestion of infinite potential existing in every single set of circumstances and for every possible reason, and none of it by chance, but rather in the meeting of minds and the willing of circumstance. And still there, but for the grace go I. And you too, my friend, will at some point also pass by, because we are just waves and particles, manifestations of an eternal motive, timelessly living expressions of the age. We are missions remotivated. We are assembled energy. We are stardust. Thank you. Okay. This one's called Boundless. They named it dignity, and they mentioned the angle of the chin and the setting of the jaw. In the meeting of muscular might to the mountain, done the dance from dream to dusk. The silent throbbing mass of mitigating circumstances, heads bowed and shuffling in two-step passages of time, carrying, bringing and minding. The stuff of territory uncharted and yet made way for, eyes down and pressing into the curb. Word of arrival came surely and silently. The stirring of a memory here, the echo of a promise there. Stitches suspended and homes left hanging, doors gaping, curtains blowing in the wind. He who held it highest and for longest, the emergence of renewed meaning, the signaling of delivery, and still forwards they issued, gazed, fixed on holding those moments, as if when knowing was made of cartilage and silent breathing. Eternally expectant he, so deeply mindful they, carrying him forwards and over the heads of the crowd. Thank you. And I've just got one more. It's called 5'3". In the body, a bending, a leaning, a motion. In the mind, an inkling, an urge, a command. In the heart, a yearning, an indefinable reason, a timeless blaze. 5'3". Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynette. You got some very lovely comments on the side there. Amy McAllister said, such an original voice. And yes, that's one of the things I love about open mics in general is that range of stuff that we get, and how wonderful, powerful poetry isn't just one thing. It can be any number of different approaches and sounds that we have. So thank you very much. And talking of which, we've got a distinctive voice that I would say is quite different to Lynette's, which is Clive, who...
hello.
Hello, Clive. Never quite know whether we're going to get deep satire or heartfelt revelations or what. But we know it's going to be of quality. So, Clive, let's hear it.
Okay, well, actually, Revolt Poet would have heard this last night, so apologies to him. But as a Brummy of a certain age, 26 obviously, yeah, there's one event in my childhood and the consequences of that event that will always stick in my mind. And this is one of my earlier poems, but I still consider it to be the most important poem I've ever written. And it's called November 74. Some tragedies are firmly installed on the hard drive of a nation's soul, recalled, commemorated, replayed, so all those who are old enough can always say where they were that day. Others have to fight for recognition, with those most damaged on an impossible mission to let the ambivalent see their scars. Any disaster will leave its mark. Deliberate massacre leaves images so stark as to stalk us all our days. My accent tells you where I'm from, and my heart remains in Birmingham. November the 21st, 1974. Some recall it instantly. To most, it means nothing at all. To us, it's when innocent people were blown limb from limb or through brick walls, their remains sprawled among rubble and electric cables, or impaled by sections of mangled tables, with a massive crater smashed into the concrete floor, the stench of burning flesh, the blood and gore. My eldest sister was in town that night, at just 25, still older than many who died. She got lucky with a change of plan and didn't go to the tavern in the town, unlike 18-year-old Maxine, who arrived at the scene seconds before the blast and was walking right past the device as it spewed destruction into the night. The average age of fatalities in the tavern was under 23. How can it be that such a tragedy should evade the psyche of the masses who still hold vigils on national TV for victims of other tragedies? 21 lost their lives, others were left blind or paralysed, and in order to calm the baying mob, 6 men arrested and forced to confess through torture, beatings, mock executions, cigarette burns inflicted by uniformed yobs to the shame of Britain. 6 men convicted through withheld evidence, deeply flawed forensics from a man named Skews, and the refusal to let the jury see the written confessions, which were full of contradictions. The identities of the killers were known to the authorities long before the roof caved in on official insistence on the guilt of the 6. None of them faced justice. The cowards whose telephone warning used the code word XX but didn't give specifics as to where the bombs would explode next are morally insolvent, and no cause, no wars can ever absolve them. but subsequent events, the cover-up and pretense which left 6 men to do their time, was another heinous crime against the people of Brum, which trampled on the dignity of victims as surely as did the murderous scum. Brummies have made less noise than some others in injustice to sisters and brothers and the laying of their ghosts. But when it comes to injury, the quiet ones are often hurting most. Thank you.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
All right, thank you, Clive. I'm not sure I've heard that one before. It's a very moving piece. And yeah,
it's still a bone of contention with us Brummies that the people who did that were known almost instantly. The people who served, one of them died in prison, the other 5 served 17 years, and everybody knew that they were innocent. And it's a terrible miscarriage of justice, which is overlooked just about everywhere else in the country. And, you know, I haven't performed, until last night, I haven't performed that poem for a long time, but I thought, you know what, this really still needs to be heard.
Yeah.
You know, and it will continue to be heard for as long as there's anybody still alive from that day.
And but even after that, it will remain relevant. You know, as we know, the miscarriages of justice that continue to go on is people who are dying in the hands of the police, as we know, but also people who are accused of crimes that the police know that they haven't committed, and they in one way or another are not seen as from the mainstream of society, whether that is white, middle class, educated, from a good family or whatever. People will be made guilty because of what their background rather than their guilt. But there we go. So yes, thank you, Clive. Next up, we've got Amy, who looks to me as if she's standing outside her house.
I'm house sitting. I'm in a garden because I just really wanted nature. So yeah.
And that's funny because you've probably got a lovely view there of some trees and things, but we can just see the brick wall.
Yeah, there's a lot of brick on that side too, but I'm still outside.
Okay, good to have you again, Amy. What have you got for us this week?
So I was just thinking today about how everyone's getting really excited about getting back on airplanes and all the other things starting back up, and how I bet the climate is not as excited. So this is called Wake. We're on a seaside terrace. No, it's not a terrace, it's a boat. No, not a boat, a ship. No, we are landlocked, but the water has come in. It missed us just as much as we missed it and came to visit. There are jellyfish guilt-tripping us as we eat squid risotto, and tampons bobbing, putting us right off our thick red wine. The tampons don't speak English, they have travelled many miles, but we've become more sensitive. Yes, we can read between the lines, just like a good rape crisis team. Can take our smartphones off the table, drop feminism and neuroplasticity off the conversation pile for long enough. We listen, self-congratulate great people, as the tampons and the jellyfish beseech us to do something. But we've done so much already, walked our feet off, worked up such an appetite, and the baskets with 4 kinds of bread in them make us forget the bigger picture, make us reach for garlic butter, fixate on each other, nodding at the drivel our companions spew until the sea swells up over the canopy and we are floating, frantic, with the jellyfish and the exotic tampons, wishing we had listened better. That's it. I know it's a weird one. I just wrote it.
Thank you very much. Did you say that there's another one, or that was it?
No, I thought I'd keep it short. There's loads of us. So.
Oh no, do another, Amy, please.
Okay, hang on. I don't have, okay, what I do. I have another thing I just wrote, but it's kind of like quite lighthearted, I guess, but maybe we could do it a bit of that. So I'll read it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Grant, this is called Back to Nature, and it's about something I've been enjoying a lot lately in a weird way. Okay. There's just something about it. scanning the edges of the park, the marsh, the towpath for the perfect spot. Accessible enough, a little trampled into, but by the few, not by the many. And no risk of major scratches on the lower legs. It's best if there is no tissue visible, but the odd Kleenex can reassure. This spot has worked out well for some other adventurer. I go further, tissueless, forgoing wasteful Western comforts with a little shake. It is a soil enhancer, this. My buttocks kiss the ground. Me and my inner animal have reconnected, and the earth drinks up 2 bottles of Recorderlig that my amazing body has converted into nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium at a ratio of 10 to 1 to 4. You're welcome, planet. Used to have to plan it when I'd go. My granny bladder cutting long walks short, my routes dictated by my urges, clued up to fuck on which hotels could be snuck into and which petrol station toilets to avoid. A prissy little human thing, pretending not to be a monkey in an outfit, like as if I am above fighting and biting, above pushing someone fit against a wall and begging them to have me now, albeit with consent, above shoving my face right into something tasty. Why the fuck do we use cutlery? Oh, pee. Oh, woodland pea, I'm back. I missed you. How I missed you. I missed me. There you go.
All right.
Ooh, fantastic. That was great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I know we're deep and meaningful, but we need some of the other as well, you know.
All right.
Definitely do. Thank you, Amy. That was great, as ever.
You're welcome.
So in a minute or two, I'm going to hand us back over to Mr. Mark, Mr. T. Thompson, as he's now going to be henceforth known. Mr. Mark, Mr. T. Thompson. That's got a better ring to it, I think. Than
only one mister.
Not yet. We're going to have Howard first. Howard, are you ready?
Yes.
Excellent. So, what have you got for us?
I have a poem about Richard Spencer. About a year ago, he was leading an alt-right rally and he was punched in the face, which was a great moment. But this is a poem about him. It's called The Music Maker. Richard Spencer, alt-right, was a music major in college. March, 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 alt-right face, salute, kill the Muslims, shoot the blacks, replace the Jews, embrace the Klan. Neo-Nazis are his tribe, the pure race, the white race, the master race, Uber alles. We are supreme, untouchable by the scum, straight white men. March, 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 alt-right space. Richard Spencer was a music major in college. Does martial music soothe the savage breast or inflame the primal racist passion? Okay, and I have another. States of agitation. A Chinese woman and a man in a van, she chewing him out in Cantonese. He's sitting impassively, his mouth drooping. A Middle Eastern man, stocky and chino short, shouting a phrase over and over again into a cell phone as he turns red. A man and a woman sitting on a bench. He smokes, she doesn't. High drama. He lights up. He sits silently mumbling. 2 pigeons, pecking on a stone, begin to peck each other. With a furious flapping of wings, they flutter up to a roof ledge where they continue their battle. A red ant and a black ant, locked in mortal combat. And God slept fitfully, dreaming through the long night. Thank you.
Oh yeah.
I love his poem.
Thank you, Howard. Did somebody just say I love that piece?
No, it was I love his voice. That was my wife. She's a sucker for a poet, Howard.
Oh my God. Okay.
She's also very spoken for, Howard. Just don't get too excited now. And quite a long way away.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Long distance.
We all have beautiful voices, and that's where all poetry is political, because everybody has a voice, but so many of us have our voices never heard. So many of us think that our voices have no merit, and for some of us, the first time we speak a poem is the first time we give ourselves power, and that's why poetry is political, even if it is just about olive groves. For people who don't have a voice, poetry is our weapon. And appropriately enough, then, this is the point where I hand over to Mark Thompson himself. He's going to have the pleasure and honour of introducing our guest feature this evening, who's going to be on after the break. But before I hand over to Mark, who's going to give us a poem of his own, I have to semi-introduce Kat too, just because I've known her for many, many, many years, and I think possibly around about the time we were doing pure poetry in Clerkenwell Green and then Soho. But our paths cross many, many times, as is often the case with people who dedicate themselves to the spoken word and to wisdom preaching. So I can't wait to hear you do a full set, Kat, because normally I only catch you doing the poetry slams, introducing the primary school kids' poems, which is great, but I like to hear more of you. So I look forward to that, and here is Mark to tell us more.
And look how seamlessly we transition over to me. I mean, it's almost like we've been doing this for some time now. You could be forgiven for thinking this was a semi-professional event. Or we've still got people arriving, or re-arriving at least. Let's not worry about that too much. Yes, I am Mark, Mr. T. Thompson. The Mr. is in the middle just to confuse you. I am a man of Mr. T. No, Mr. Rick, never mind. Poets and their puns. I'm really glad to be here. I've been enjoying it so far. Didn't feel in the mood, but you guys and your poetry have lifted my soul already. And I'm feeling quite ecstatic at this precise moment just to be here. A few little notes. People have been asking what the C's in the chat are. At poetry events, sort of rounds of applause in the middle of a poem can be quite disruptive. So we tend to go for these little clicks, that kind of thing. You may have seen it in American movies about poetry or at other cool events. But since your microphones are often off, if you just tap a couple of C's, that's like you've clicked a couple of times. And if you wanted to do capital C's, it's like you're already giving a round of applause, but you don't interrupt the flow of the poet. So you can do that in the chat. The other thing that some people like to do is to pick out lines that they really love. Obviously, I'm about to share a poem, so there won't be any lines worth picking out of that one. But after the interval, when we bring your feature, Kat Francois, my poetry mentor, the person for whom you have to blame for the fact that I'm here, not on the planet, that's my mum, she's also here, but the fact that I am a poet, well, I suppose you could also blame Sarah, because on my first date with Sarah, she brought me to one of Kat's events, and I suddenly realised all these things I'd written could be used without music, because I'd wanted to be a rapper and a singer and all sorts of other things. So some of my things were rap, some of them were songs. But yes, if you hear any lines that you like, you can type those in the chat, and then the poet can go back and go, oh, look, that one really had an impact on somebody. So if you hear any of mine, don't worry about it. But after the break, when Kat's on, listen out for those amazing lines. And if you can manage to type those while you're listening, that's a little bonus for the poet when they finish. They can go, oh, look, that really moved somebody. So I'm going to share some new shit. Yeah, Sarah's been in this poetry world for a while. I went to the New Yorican Poetry Cafe, and I popped into Manhattan, as you do in the middle of a pandemic. Obviously, only virtually and on Zoom, but I did that, and I realised this new shit stuff is stuff they've been doing for a while. So this shouting out of new shit when you hear a new poem. So I'm telling you this is new shit. So when I do that, you guys are allowed to just unmute for a second and say new shit back to me. So this is a really new poem. New shit.
New shit.
You're getting a hang of this. You're getting a hang of this. It's a new poem, but a very old theme. Don't forget to remute yourselves, because otherwise it can get a bit, interesting and echoey. But I've been asked. I was performing at a political event, and somebody asked me to do something for the Royal Maritime Museum. I was like, okay, that's all right. And then they tried to ask me to do the gig for 150 quid. And it was basically to prepare something, to make a film, to be on their website. And I was like, the rate of pay for a poet should be about 300 quid. And explaining what the going rate was, and then explaining to them that, the thing they were asking me to do was about the slave trade, for an international day of commemoration for the transatlantic slave trade and the terrible atrocities that were part of it. And I had to explain to them, if you really want me to write something which is about the exploitation of my ancestors, I can't do it if you're exploiting me into the bargain. So they've had to come back with a slightly better offer, which they did, which is good. This is the poem that I'm going to hopefully be sharing as part of that, as well as some of my older stuff. So this is called The Seed of the Fruit. This is the second attempt of reading it whilst other people were listening. I hope I don't get too lost. If I do get lost, you can do some of those clicks in there as a kind of supportive thing. So, you're showing me that you're a bit of love should I be struggling. Can we just check, has everybody got the ability to type a couple of C's into the chat? Oh, look, somebody was typing new shit as well. I like that. Or new shit. Sarah's got the C's, Amy's got the C's, Lynette's on it. Okay, you guys you've got the idea. And you can type all sorts of interesting things in there. But the C's are a nice, easy one. New shit is another obvious one. We love you, Mark. You're the best poet in the world is one that I'm only expecting to hear from my mum or my wife. The rest of you can just, join in. Okay, this is called The Seed of the Fruit, and I hope I get it right. So I didn't say what I always say, Mum. No. Oh, and the last thing is, I'm hopefully going to be shooting some of this on site. So I want to find some bit of an old ship made out of wood. And the first line relates to being by this great big piece of wood, we hope, whether it's a mast or a deck or a hull or something wooden. And this is hopefully the start of that poem, The Seed of the Fruit. What if these once shivering timbers could talk? Tell tales about those who once walked between them, the scenes they've not so much seen as absorbed with the salt of the spray and the tears shed in a triangular trade in which so many souls were bought and sold, young and old alike, back in the days when the darker fruit of the tree of humanity was just another commodity to be transported for an unfeasibly large profit on a disgracefully small fee. A fruit which, like any other, could so easily spoil. Once it was separated from the roots and the soil of the land where it had been grown, from all it had ever loved, all it had ever known, imprisoned as much by the high seas as the tall ships from where the shores are not visible for weeks at a time, where hope disappeared beneath yards of sail and rope, dancing to the twin tunes of the whistle of the wind and the whip. There are so many more than 9 tales to be told, including those of the weak, the sick, and the unbreakably bold who could not be cowed between stern and bow and rebelled somehow despite the shackles. Some argue those warriors, brothers, mothers, and others who never made the journey's end were in fact the lucky ones. But there were no winners here, in the squalor between the decks. For most, just unending fear and punishment for the crime of not dying. But that's a lie. For some, this gamble paid off royally, building fortunes, cities, even empires, including ours, those of Spain, Portugal, and the Dutch, all of which owed as much to the unutterably unholy sales of not just the flesh present, but the generations to come. I wonder what my ancestors on board would make of me. The fruit of the seed, of the fruit of the seed, of the fruit of the seed, of the fruit of the seed of the tree of which they were the root. Perhaps one day I'll ask them. But until then, I'd ask that you remember them. And I'd ask you to join the dots in the chain which links us all. And that's that piece. Woo! Not one that's going to leave you rolling in the aisles with laughter, but it's deep. It's deep. And yes, we've slightly overrun in the first half. We squeezed lots and lots of poets in, which means there won't be quite so many poets in the session after the interval, but we have got the most amazing Cat Francois available in that second half. And she will be doing an entire feature set of about 20 minutes. Will be a couple of other open micers. I might do another piece. We might get another one from Steve if you're really lucky. It could be an absolutely amazing second half, like it was a pretty amazing first half. And you are a pretty amazing and lovely audience.
Yes, we are.
We are going to have a brief intermission. So you know, it's important to keep yourself hydrated. So you know, getting that liquid balance. My friend Ricky's very keen on people keeping their liquid balance up. So whatever you have to do to manage your liquid balance, you know, hopefully there shouldn't be a queue for the bathroom, or if there is, you need to kick out whichever member of your family is obstructing you. There shouldn't be a queue at the bar because, well, it's your kitchen, right? So you know, help yourself to drink. Sarah's trying to get in shot here. She's obviously desperate for a drink. Come and say hi, Sarah. Come. Keep coming. Say hi, Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
It's Sarah's favourite party trick.
Hi, Sarah.
Oh, Siri thinks I'm talking.
Catch that.
Siri thought I was talking to Siri. I was talking to Sarah. Honest, I was. Don't you love it when Siri gets involved? No, Sarah really doesn't. So we are going to take a little break here, a breakette. So it's 9:09. We'll be back at approximately 9:19. So get yourself a drink. I might start waffling a bit before then. I should put some music on now, and hopefully we'll see all of you, and maybe you can invite some friends during the break to let them know exactly what they're missing out on, because we've got plenty of room in the Zoom. And hi to all the people watching on Facebook Live as well. Mustn't forget you. You're making the effort to join us in whatever way you can. So I'm Mark, Mr. T. Thompson. All that remains is for me to say thank you to everybody who was in the first half, to all our open micers, and to Steve for hosting that. And I look forward to seeing you after the break. Goodbye for now. Music is now definitely playing. Hurrah. So in this second half, we will have a very brief introduction. It's kind of, I've got a piece that's kind of almost become the signature for grassroots poetry, for poetry from the grassroots. Some people don't understand about why we do political poetry or why we do politics in general. And this is kind of my very, very short poem to kind of sum that up. If you like it, you can give me some clicks. If you don't like it, I'm sorry. Not really. I'm not very sorry. But hopefully you will. And it's called Fair Game. Wow, we just keep getting people coming in. I'm hoping that Steve is here. Hope Steve's here because we've got loads of people coming in. Right, quick poem going just like this. Some claim they don't do politics because it's a game of dirty tricks that powerful people try to fix. I guess that much is true. I too can see what's going wrong. The same sad singers sing the same sad songs, leaving no space for me and you to feel that we belong. But if that leaves us in a rage which makes us choose not to engage, we leave for them an empty stage to fill with tall tales too short on other points of view. So I beg you not to turn away. Please know your value to the fray. It will be a dirtier game if you don't play, and maybe slightly fairer if you do. Said it was a nice brief one. Oh, look, I haven't put the spotlight on, which means whoever makes the most noise ends up on screen. Let's test that out. Who's going to make the most noise? Who wants to actually get their face seen?
Hey, I'm your mother.
Oh yeah, your mum. Yeah. If you're wondering where this fruit got its large voice from, I think my mother might have something to say about that. Clive's managing to get on without saying anything. I'm not sure how he did that, Clive. That's very impressive. He's pulling off new tricks. Now I'm getting the feeling that the world knows when Cat Francois is on, because when we started, we only had about 25 in the room, and normally the way things work at these events is you have 40 at the beginning and it slowly ebbs down. But we had about 25 at the beginning, and we're up to 42 now, which makes me think that people know how amazing Cat Francois is, and they've turned up to see Cat. I could be wrong, but that's the way it's feeling from where I'm sitting. Cat Francois, are you in the house? Can you unmute yourself?
Good evening, good evening, good evening.
Good evening, good evening. Yeah, we had a little joke earlier. Kat said to me, what should she wear? And I said, of all the poets in the world that I know, there are two that I would never, ever presume to tell what to wear, because there are only two people that I know that when they turn up to host an event, will travel across London in one outfit, Gachi and put on a next pair of shoes, whole different dress, everything crisp. You can't possibly tell this person what to wear. They know what is appropriate. And I'm looking at that t-shirt and going, sis, how come you buy one of them and you not get one for me?
I can give you.
I'll translate those for the less ethnic in the audience.
I'll give you
my sister, how did you manage to acquire a shirt of such magnificence without actually either telling me or allowing me to purchase one at the same time?
I will put it up on my Facebook page. I will give you the link. I will give you the link.
I am so chuffed to have you. I'm gonna just do a brief little chat with you before I get you to do poetry. Because Kat, you do realize how responsible you are for me playing this game?
Well, yeah, I don't know whether to apologize or to clap, but it just depends.
We have to ask the audience. You have to ask the audience. Other than my mother, as I said, being responsible for bringing me into the universe, you gave me my first, you were the first host of a poetry event that I ever went to. You were the first person to get me on an open mic, the first person to get me onto a slam, which I won. You were the first person to ask me to host an event. You have been an inspiration from the very first time I ever saw you. You were the first poet I heard before the end of my single life, because you were the poet who read at mine and Sarah's wedding. You are, if I keep going, I could fill up the rest of the show saying the amazing things in terms of your impact on me. But, you know, to tell people that you've been a UK slam champion, a world slam champion, you've done however many one-woman shows, you performed in however many different countries, on however many TV shows, radio shows, you have done everything there is to do in this game, other than become rich and famous, which as far as I understand it, is not allowed for poets. There's Benjamin Zephaniah, and about two other people, and even those people that have become famous that are poets, they're not making no money from poetry. Ben told me himself, don't ever expect to make money from publishing your poetry. You might make money if you become famous, because he might ask you to do two things on TV, but you've done everything there is to do. And on behalf of all the people who you have supported, I need to say thank you, partly for myself, but because I'm just one in a string of 100 poets, maybe 1,000. I wouldn't be surprised if there were 1,000 poets who could say that Kat Francois has helped them at some point, because she's worked with so many young people, so many young poets, so many emerging poets, because I was never a young poet. I didn't start being a poet till I was nearly 30. And I just need the world to understand how grateful all of us are for all the opportunities you've offered for so many people. Thank you.
I appreciate that.
In addition to that, we have asked you to pick a charity, you know, or to suggest where people can donate some money, because obviously you guys out there in Zoom land are aware that if this was going on in a venue, you would have paid to come in it. So, you know, whether that was the old-fashioned cheapo poetry event, you know, free £3 in a bucket, or whether you had to spend £15 in advance plus a booking fee to Ticketmaster, you would have paid something to come and see Kat Francois speak. So if you would have paid something to see Kat Francois speak, then we're asking if you can find a way to give that money to a place of Kat's choice. So Kat, where are you asking people to send money to today?
Well, I'm one of the poets, artists that obviously have been impacted by this whole thing. So one thing that I have been doing is working with kids and doing lots of online stuff and fitness stuff as well. And I've been getting people to donate if they want, like, to a site called Ko-Fi. And this is good for any artists that are out there. It's a donation site. It's KO-FI. You can just look my name up under there. And it kind of does it in coffees or whatever you want, so people can donate £3. And it's another poet that put me onto that. And that's been a great way just to garner a little bit of money for everybody who's found themselves really in this financially precarious situation. If you personally don't want to donate to me, that's cool too, but the charity would be Childline, because yeah, that's close to my heart because of the young people that I work with. And also I just think about all the youngsters who are kind of being stuck at home during lockdown, and Childline might have been the only line that they basically had. So yeah, so that's that. And yeah, I just want to say, you know, I haven't done everything. There's still so much to do, so much to do, so much to do. And as terrible as COVID has, it's given me the space and time to write and create. So I hope this is the beginning of a new chapter of me, for me.
Brilliant. So I'm gonna, Kat sent me the link. Was it called Ko-Fi?
Yeah, it's KO-FI, and you can just look my name up under it.
Cool. Well, I think I'm going to be able to put the link into the chat, so hopefully some people will donate that way. If you're wanting to donate to the charity Kat has picked out, Childline as being the one, I will try and get that link into the chat as well. I will also try and put the Ko-Fi link up some way that can be seen on the screen for those people that might watch again on the Facebook Live, because we've had up to 2,500 people watch the Facebook Live. We only get 30 to 40 in here, although actually we're over 40 tonight. We're at 42 at the moment in here. So yes, those thousands of people, if just 1 in every 100 of them made a donation, it would still come to something. So I am going to hand over now to the wonderful, the wondrous, the inspirational Kat. Francois, make some noise, make some noise.
Evening. Thank you so much.
All right. Take a land, please. By myself. Auntie Kat is speaking. Quiet.
Thank you so much for having me tonight. You know, life has changed for a lot of us and for a lot of us artists, but one thing it's given us is the time to create. So I'm going to share some work, and I'm going to ease us in and start ranking it up. This is called Strange Easter. It was a strange Easter, where instead of going to church, people stayed at home. Instead of the children giggling and laughing and hunting for Easter eggs in the park, the children stayed at home. Chocolate eggs were hidden in shoe boxes, wardrobes, coat pockets, kitchen cupboards and sock drawers. And the children looked and they hunted, and the children squealed and the children giggled in delight. I had my anniversary. Rob, I need the plug. I had my anniversary while I was in lockdown, and this is called Lockdown Anniversary. You're fish and chips, I'm rice and peas. You're salt and pepper, I'm Scotch bonnet and hot pepper sauce. You're green garden peas, I'm gonga peas. You're suet dumplings, I'm fried bakes. You're potato and leek soup, I'm red pea. You're a tart Bramley apple pie, I am sweet ripe plantain. You're bangers and mash, I'm salt fish and callaloo. You're a chicken pasty, I'm a veggie pasty. You're vanilla ice cream, I am dark berry. You are red, white and blue, I am red, gold and green. You're public affection, I'm no, not here. You're boarding school educated, I'm council estate raised. You're old school funk, I'm dance hall queen. You're Labrador crazy, I'm no dogs allowed. You're size 12 bright basketball trainers. I am colorful carnival masquerader. You are a can of red stripe. I am Rivers Grenadian rum. You think first, talk later. I am talk first, think later. You're lend me, I'm borrow me. You're oh my gosh, I'm Bonjay. We are 13 years later.
Yay,
Thank you. So there's a lot of things I'm sure that just got on people's nerves during the whole lockdown. And this one is called Coming and Going. Newsflash, newsflash, read all about it. Windrush children betrayed. Black men and women killed by police. No justice, no peace. Schools underfunded. Hospitals underfunded. Social services underfunded. Care underfunded. Fertility treatment, a postcode lottery. A&E waiting times at 4 hours, in reality longer. Homelessness at higher rates than ever. Longer lists. Council house waiting lists longer than ever. Dominic Cummings breaks lockdown rules. The Prime Minister pulls down his pants and pees on public opinion. The new world order, where it's finally become clear to the closed eyes that the so-called ruling class do not care. One rule for them and one rule for us, as the middle classes fail and flail to take their last conservative breath. They finally see clearly. Rule Britannia, they cry, as the Prime Minister sucked on oxygen pumped into his failing lungs by the comforting hands of foreign nurses. Rule Britannia, from the safety of your fancy home in Durham. Rule Britannia, with your newly born child, with your mistress, come baby mother, come fiance by your side. Rule Britannia, with your COVID-covered hands. Rule Britannia, as your piece of the pie is left intact. Rule Britannia, as they line their pockets with one hand and clap the NHS with the other. It's a new world order, where the middle classes are left to rot in care homes with staff who lack medical skills, lack PPE, and lack sleep, scrambling like worker bees, scooping up old blood instead of nectar. The contempt has come to light. Dorian Gray's portrait has revealed its true self. The crap has hit the fan. No, this shit has hit the fan and the stench is overpowering. We lock ourselves away in our houses as we say our final goodbyes to our loved ones on phones or iPads held to their dying ears, as we keep our distance, keep our social distance. Those hogs rendezvous and rub shoulders, drink champagne and eat caviar, sit back as unpaid cleaners clean their filth, as the homeless are dashed back onto the streets and nepotism sings loud and proud like a canary, as private companies feast on the carcass of the NHS, domestic violence sparks, closed doors become prisons, keys transform into locks, refuges burst at the seams, ordinary men and ordinary women make daily sacrifice, but they preen, they pontificate, they bumble and they stumble under the spotlight and stutter and spurting lies like dog crap colored flies. One rule for them and one rule for us. Rule Britannia, new world order. Newsflash, newsflash, Cummings was seen coming and going and coming and going. Woo! Thank you. So, we obviously, thank you very much, everybody.
Sorry to talk over you. Can I just say we need to make sure we do mute ourselves. I love to make noise. Simone showed me how to make. Okay. Right. Yes, we need to make sure that we do mute because otherwise noise will come over the top of other people. So if Steve, particularly if Steve's doing the thing of unmuting all, which I think may have happened. Yes. Yes, and sorry, Kat, I accidentally, as I'm going through trying to mute the people that were making noise, I did mute you by mistake. Sorry, Auntie. And Simone was the person who showed me how to be really noisy at a poetry event. So all my whooping and hollering is all based on Simone Sharp. So yeah, if you hear her making noise, yeah, she taught me everything I know when it comes to making noise.
Unmuting people and unmuting them when it's time for applause.
Yeah, let them do it themselves, Steve, because that's when we get these horrible problems. Right, Kat, we're handing back to you. Thank you very much.
This piece is called Go Back to Where You Come From. Go back to where you come from, the racists love to say, and exactly where that may be. Which country, which tribe is mine? Where do these bones belong? Who will claim this flesh? Go back to where you come from, the racists love to say. If we dare to complain, why are you here? If you don't like it, go back to your own country. Go on, go on. Why don't you go and get out of it? Faces full of rage, eyes flooded with indignation, lips pierced. The racists love to say, my grandfather didn't fight in the war for this country to be taken over by your sort. What sort? The sort who fought along your great-grandfather, like my relative, Lazarus Francois, who in 1916 came all the way over from little old Grenada to fight for this country and never made it home. Is he the sort you're talking about? Go back to where you come from, the racists love to say. But it was you who implored us to leave our homes and assist in rebuilding the country after World War II. We heard your cries for help and we came. Working in manufacturing and construction, driving and conducting on the buses, nursing in the NHS. We came in our thousands, but we came at your bequest. Go back to where you come from, the racists love to say. But I say research your history, because ignorance is not ignorance. To be honest, it's just pure stupidity. So unless you can go back in time, reverse the slave ships, dredge the bones out of the Atlantic Ocean, breathe life back into silent lungs, and place people back into their villages, unless you can return my stolen name, language, culture, and liberty, unless you can fix the broken glass of my fractured ancestry, telling us to go back to where we come from is nothing but pure irony. Go back to where you come from, the racists love to say. Sit down, shut up, the racists love to say, as if we should be grateful for the pathetic scraps we are fed, but there is no retreat. Talk, we will talk. Walk, we will walk. March, we will march. Shout, we will shout. Protest, we will protest. And we will continue to expose the underbelly of the beast festering with maggots. Go back to where you come from, the racists love to say, but I can't believe that after all this time, they don't realize that we are here to stay.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank
Whoa.
you.
What? Whoa.
This piece is called Dusky Skin, and I guess it's about not having the ability to hide. This dusky skin cannot hide. It cannot blend effortlessly into the background, even when silenced it speaks. A brutalized history seeps from its pores, creeping into the atmosphere of denial. It's the eyes. You see, the eyes unwittingly reveal the truth. This dusky skin must master how to sit when others stand when others sit when others stand, mold itself into whatever society demands. This dusky skin must move stealthily. No sudden movements which may upset the others. Tone down its voice, remove the bass. Take out the reverb. So words exhale softly and ripple into nothingness. Its life depends on it. It must learn how to temper its anger, even when greatly provoked. Smile in the face of its oppressor, even while being oppressed. It must not show its true nature. It must always appear to conform. This dusky skin must master blandness. Merge into gray, water itself down, squeeze itself into the tiny of spaces possible. Blend, blend, blend. This dusky skin must learn how to blend. Under no circumstances must it call attention to itself. It must become less visible, less aggressive, less provoking, less threatening. Bend, contort, twist, turn. This dusky skin must learn how to survive.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
So this is an old one, but I think, you know, it's very relevant. Does my anger scare you? Does my truth annoy and irritate you? Does the blackness of my skin make you feel uncomfortable because of the safety of the whiteness that you live in? Does the world comfort or protect, embrace or neglect? Do the police stop you just for the hell of it? Do they demand to know where you're going? Do they treat you with respect or do they treat you with disdain? Do they handle you with dignity or do they revel in your absolute uncomfortability? Would you call them if you were in trouble or not bother because they're just not worth the trouble? Does my anger scare you? Does my truth annoy and irritate you that there are blacks dying with knees in their backs and handcuffs round their wrists, windpipe restricted, breath cut off, lips turning blue, eyes bulging with fear and pain? Does it make you shift in your seat, the thought of thrashing feet and fingers gnarled and desperate, trying frantically to get free? Or does it make you say, oh my, she's so aggressive. I can understand why the police react the way in which they do. If you had to deal with that, then wouldn't you? Does it make you feel better to think those who died could not have been innocent? The police do not kill, so it must have been an accident. Accidental asphyxiation, they always say. But if only it was remembered that this was someone's mother, brother, father, sister, if only a little common sense was shown, if only a little compassion was shown, if only someone said stop, Does it not make you feel ashamed to think, though my people are never safe, and those who kill them get off with complete impunity, because I have yet to hear for a single officer go down for a death in police custody? And I can reel off the name of those who failed to make it. Check Joy Gardner, who died. They wrapped her up in 13 feet of tape, wrapped her feet and wrapped her arms because they said she overstayed her welcome. So yes, they sent her back. They sent her back to Jamaica in a coffin. And how about Sarnie Lewis has a nervous breakdown, taken to a mental hospital. An altercation takes place and the police are called. How many more? How many more? And how about Cat Francois, 24 years old, late one night gets punched in the face by some random drunk white guy, stops a passing police car for help, and instead of helping her, they arrest her, throw her into the back of a police van and almost succeed in suffocate her. So how many more? How many more? So yes, I'm meant to make you feel uncomfortable. I'm meant to make you squirm. I'm meant to make your stomach churn. I'm meant to make you question. I'm meant to make you cry. I'm meant to take the task to be a voice for those who cannot ask, because there are fathers without sons and mothers without daughters and sisters without brothers and women without lovers. So yes, I'm meant to make you feel uncomfortable. I'm meant to make you cry. I'm meant to make your conscience burn. I'm meant to make your stomach churn. I'm meant to take you to task to be a voice for those who cannot ask.
Yes, yes. Yes, you are. Thank you.
Tell them.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Go on, sister. Go on.
Well
done,
Kat. Thank you. This piece is called Black Rage. And I think everyone will understand, or hopefully, where it's come from.
Them that don't understand must learn.
Sometimes you have to listen to some black rage, even if you don't want to, even if it hurts, even if it elicits excruciating shame, even if it makes you want to scream and shout, it wasn't me, even if it makes you feel tied up and awkward. Sometimes you just need to sit down, shut up and listen to the pain, listen to the anguish, listen to the grief, jump off the pulpit you have become accustomed to preaching to us from, stop off the soapbox and listen. White noise is loud, overbearing and arrogant, constantly running in the background, a rambling commentary that never ends. It's so easy for you to turn your back and block the blackness out, create a sound barrier with you on one side and blackness on the other. You eat our food, dance to our music, appropriate our culture, and when you have had your fill, you are able to discard us like litter. If only we could do the same. But we cannot put our blackness to one side like a shedding snake and climb out fresh, white and new. We cannot rub off, wash away our black features when they become too difficult to deal with. We cannot switch over the black channel, or better still, turn the black channel off. We cannot wake up one day fed up and exhausted and refuse to deal with the blackness. You know what, today, I want peace and safety and I want to be treated like a human being. So today I am not going to be black. When we wake up in the morning and lay our heads down at night, we are black. Every time we look in the mirror, we are black. Every time we step out of the house, we are black. Whenever we apply for college, university, or bank loans, we are black. Every time we go for an interview, we are black. Every time we have an encounter with the police, we are most definitely black. Every time we are forced to deal with Karens and Beckys and Johns and Stevens, you bet we are black. And we have no relief from this targeted skin. There are no sick days, no weekends off, no holidays, no days to carry over until next year while we garner more strength. So sometimes you just have to listen, shut up and listen. Take it, swallow it, man up, woman up, them up, accept it. The only way to learn a little bit of the black experience, black anger, black pain, black hopes, black desires, black past and black future is to shut up and listen. Listen to some black rage, button up your thin lips and listen to some black rage. Put your prejudice and racist thinking down and just for a minute, listen to some black rage. Sit in the uncomfortable and listen to some black rage. Even if you have a black friend, black partner, black child, black colleague, even if you bought yourself a pair of thick black lips, buttocks or thighs, you still need to listen. Listen to the brutal stories of Black Death, Sean Rigg, Ricky Bishop, Christopher Older, Joy Gardner, Smiley Culture, Sarah Reed, Cynthia Jarrett, Sherry Gross, Leon Patterson, Kevin Clark, Sheku Bale, Roshan, Charles, and much, much more. Listen to their families call for justice. Listen to Just for Justice that may never, ever come, because long as the world accepts or ignores racism, there will always be Black rage to deal with. It is your choice whether you hear it or whether you feel it. Black rage is ugly. Black rage is the spit at the corner of your mouths. Black rage is fire. Black rage is ugly, snotty tears. Black rage is hate. Black rage is a lifeless body. Black rage is a modern day strange fruit, an arm around the neck, a bullet, a knee in the back. Black rage is pain. Black rage is despair. Black rage is loss of hope. Black rage is constant injustice. It is a grief so profound, it is unrecoverable. It is the lack of light at the end of the tunnel. Black rage cannot be packaged or satisfied. If you really listen, it will sicken you, it will shame you, it will scare you, it will call your actions and your privilege into account, it will choke you. Black rage will make you feel as if you cannot breathe.
Wow. Powerful, inspiring, powerful.
Again, amazing. So
Well
true,
done.
so true.
Well done.
Mark, how am I doing for
Thought
time?
provoking.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm almost at the end. So this piece is called Tongue Tied, and I guess it's quite relevant to everything that's going on today. It's hard to hold on when all the sunshine is gone, when the joy has been drained and the pain refuses to fade, and your body shuts down as it struggles to decipher the world's tirade. And we seek solace, and we seek solace in things that numb, paralyze, and euphanize. And we try and hide the hurt inside, smother it in smiles and falsified cries, and it slowly seeps from tired eyes, slowly secretes from sweated skin, skin burning from ugly fires rampaging within, and anxiety grips and beats like a wielded stick, chokes and suffocates until the space to breathe is a fight for life and not just a need. And we seek solace, and we seek solace, and the truth is tongue-tied and the truth is blind. We kidnap our own emotions, refuse them the light of day, keep them wrapped, caged inside a terrified chest until they cannot express, until they cannot confess. Frustrated and bruised, beaten and confused, the truth has lost its way, turned left when it should have turned right, gone up when it should have gone down, putrid and sick, the truth is drowning, drowning, drowning in its own rotten skin, withered and thin, full of regret and earthly sin. We walk around for days, weeks, months and years, ignoring the status quo, unplugging ourselves from the system so we don't have to think, so we don't have to feel, and we can scroll past drowned babies, we can scroll past teen stabbings, we can scroll past rape victims condemned, we can scroll past Black bodies condemned to eternal silence by police officers, both trigger happy and tetchy. We scroll past our own humanity, hidden in Facebook statuses, Twitter characters, pictures, selfies, and memes. We sell our soul to the highest bidder, yet 30 pieces of silver we do not have to deliver. And we seek solace, and we seek solace, and the truth is tongue-tied and the truth is blind. We kidnap our own emotions, refuse them the light of day, keep them wrapped, caged inside our terrified chests until they cannot express, until they cannot confess. Frustrated and bruised, beaten and confused, the truth has lost its way, turned left when it should have gone right, gone up when it should have gone down, putrid and sick, the truth is drowning, 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 drowning in its own rotten skin, withered and thin, full of regret and earthly sin. We have become spineless, spiritless, voiceless, unaware that we are all suffering from post-traumatic stress. Images stored in the back of our brain will come back to haunt us at a later date. We are not untouchable. We are not protected by some invisible first world bubble. Not one of us will be found not guilty. We all own way too many possessions, all have way more than we need, yet we are still unsatisfied, depressed and unhappy as our pathetic souls beg and beg to be fed and fed. So we gluttony our now, fail to satisfy our tomorrow. Coventry our inner child. See, we have lost our way, lost ourselves, lost our humanity, lost our beauty, so much so we constantly cannot bear our own reflection. So we constantly check our selfies. You see, there is no escape. There is no escape from this monopoly board of life. as we walk burdened within this physical form, as debauchery and cruelty have become the norm. And we seek solace, and we seek solace, and we seek solace, and the truth is tongue-tied and the truth is blind. We kidnap our own emotions, refuse them the light of day, keep them rat-caged inside our terrified chests until they cannot express, until they cannot confess. Frustrated and bruised, beaten and confused, the truth has lost its way, turned left when it should have turned right, gone up when it should have gone down, pictured and stick. The truth is burning, 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 burning in our own rotten skin. And we seek solace, and we seek solace, and we seek solace, and we seek solace, and
we seek solace. Yeah. Woo! That's all right. All right.
I'm just aware of time now, so I will finish up with, you know, a piece called Poetry Addict. It's just about my love for words and creativity and just why I do what I do. I'm a poetry addict, and I'm proud to say I've given myself freely to what I believe in. Stripped down naked in front of many so they could see beneath the clothes, beneath the skin, so many disguises that live within. I've allowed strangers within my personal space to taste the cat philosophy, which is sometimes catalysmic or a catastrophe, depending on my mood, calmly caressing or verbal calligraphy. Because I perform for need, I perform for greed, I perform for love, for lust, and just so I can breathe. I've spent years giving away my words, the heartfelt thoughts, feelings, and emotions that make up my poetry, putting on display my idiosyncrasies for all to see, giving up my soul to people I've never seen, drawing pictures in once closed minds, taking them on a journey that was mine to find. I've exposed my femininity and revealed my humanity for all to criticize, ride and plagiarize, and I've been a slave to my art, just so I could be heard, just so my words could be planted into the hearts of many, and I take no prisoners, least of all me. For I can remember all I hear is my harshest critics, but I am that child who crawled their way out of a bottomless hole, blossomed and grew, even though they were told there was nowhere to grow. And I'm addicted to this. My mind offers me all the protection that I need. Come, 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 come. I will open myself wide as only a woman can. Come, 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 come. And I will open myself wide as only a poet can, and give to you, my audience, my deepest, darkest fantasies. Bear witnesses. What I create starts to breed as I plant a linguistic seed. Come, 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 come for one small moment if you dare. And I promise, I promise, I will set you free, because I perform for need, I perform for greed, I perform for love, and just so I can breathe. I perform for need, I perform for greed, I perform for love, for lust, for love, for lust, for love, for lust, and just so I can breathe.
Thank you.
Well done. Good one.
Cat. I can't. Yeah, I said thank you. I'm not gonna embarrass myself by saying thank you as many times as you deserve to hear the word, because it would just be embarrassing for us both. You are awesome. I have been sharing repeatedly the link for people that wish to support. If you're in the Zoom, that's now in the chat. Excuse my childish handwriting. Modern technology, yes, but it's handwritten. Oh, is that going to show up? Yes, there we go. So, ko-fi.com/Cat Francois. ko-fi.com/Cat Francois. If you go to that, you can support. You know what? If you want to support Childline, that's quite easy to find. But finding a way to support Cat is not so easy. So I'm not going to find the link for you for Childline. I trust you and Google can work together on that. Yeah. But please do support Cat. A lot of people in the performing arts have been sharing pictures from them working over the last couple of days, and saying we need to save the arts. You look at the funding that's been thrown into the arts by most of the major countries in the Western world, and then compare it to the amount put in by the UK, which, as far as I'm aware, is nothing. 58 million to Witherspoons, but nothing to the arts thus far in terms of support specifically for the arts in this pandemic. People like Kat, you can support the individual. The money will not go to waste. Kat don't really waste no money. She don't eat a whole heap. She does get a lot of exercise. She's a health freak, an inspiration. You will not be wasting any money that you spend. If we were in a bar right now, a lot of you who would have paid the £5 to get in would be happy to pay a £5 to go buy Kat a drink. Well, on this, you can buy her a drink, and then you can buy her another drink if you want. I don't know whether it's buy coffee, how it's being said, but you know, buy a poet a drink. Show that your gratitude is something tangible. If you don't have the money, please spread the word about how amazing Kat Francois was, how great it is to come to a night like this where somebody like Kat Francois shares their work, and spread the word about what she does. And maybe ask your mate to buy her a drink instead. You know, there's something that we could. There's always something we can do. It's not all about money.
Go to the website. You can go to the website, buy a book from the website. You know, I think a lot of artists have been finding different ways to work. I've been running like a kids club on a Friday morning to get all the kids that I know together. I've been, you know, doing free fitness sessions. So I think a lot of us out there, as well as just producing art and putting out poetry videos and really just responding to everything that's going on. And yeah, I'm going to continue to do that. So thank you for having me on this evening, and thank you for
you know, again, can't say thank you enough times. But yeah, we are inspired, and the way in which when you're performing, the way that the chat changes, the way that people if you were looking at the gallery view, the faces of people watching, Kat, you just bring the fire. You bring the fire, and it spreads. It spreads from you to every person that's watching. And I can't say enough. You are absolutely, completely and utterly awesome. I'm just seeing in the chat, my sister Laura is saying that the kids club Cats Club is absolutely amazing. Awesome was the word she uses. I know that the kids have been absolutely loving that. Yeah. If you love Kat, tell someone. If you love Kat and you've got some money in your pocket, show some love in a financial way. But yeah, if you've enjoyed what you've seen today, put something nice in the chat. I don't know if you saw how many lines from your poems ended up in the chat, Kat, but do have a flick through that while you're listening to the last couple of open micers that we've got to get through. It's been such a pleasure. And because I'm gushing, I'm going to try and stop and go on to some other poets. But can we make one more huge round of whooping, cheering, clapping in order to thank the awesome, the amazing, the incredible Kat Francois.
Yeah.
The more noise you make, the more likely your face will appear on screen. Is that my Sarah's on screen constantly right now? That's Zoom that's choosing Sarah. Yeah. Okay, and now if you could make your way to that mute button so that we can limit the number of echoes in the background, that would be appreciated. Now, we're going to try and do something we haven't done before, which is somebody's going to try and share a video poem in this open mic. Now, we haven't done that before. I'm just looking for the individual's name. Oh, Steve's popped up. Hello, Steve. I'm just looking for, on my participants list.
Hi, Mark. I'm here.
Aha, that's good. That's John White.
Hi.
And I'm going to spotlight you, and I'm going to give you the option to hold on. Somewhere in here, I believe there's the option to allow you to share, but I might have to stop my sharing first. I wonder if that's why I can't see that yet. More. I can see allow you to record, and I'm not seeing allow you to share, which is distressing me. Multiple positions. Okay, let's try that.
Can I try?
Have a go, see what it says. It might be that when you try it, ask you, yeah, it'll put in a request to me.
Well, I just say hello to everybody first, and lovely to be here. And I've never been here before, but I'm really enjoying it. And I thought Kat was just absolutely fantastic. Fantastic. Very hard to do anything after that.
Which is why I thought video would be a good way to go, because the video doesn't have to try and keep focused. But we may find the technical challenge of getting this video is a challenge too much for us.
Yeah, okay, well, I'll have a go. This is I've been writing poetry on and off for quite a while, and in the last few years, kind of come back to it in a serious way, and I'm quite involved with the poetry school, which some of you may know. And I wrote this for a poetry blog called New Boots and Pantisocracies, and they said this is a song, so why don't you turn it into a song? So I got together with my son, Paul White, who's a great composer and producer, and this is what we came up with, and we'll try and show you. And it looks as if it's going to work, Mark, maybe.
Fingers crossed. Oh, yes, that's looking good.
Hang on. I've got to make this go full screen.
Yeah, in the top right-hand corner of the picture, if you come back off there, you could see it. It was in the top right-hand corner.
Oh, I'm lost now. Where's the...
If you hover over the video,
yeah,
in the top right-hand corner, there, just to the right of where you are, that's the one.
Oh, great. Here we go. Let's hope you can hear the sound as well. And let's hope it'll stream.
Woke up at 5 AM today, blues around my bed. Better start the party, 3 months we may be dead. Sex is good for starters, as long as there are two. I had to give up on the drugs, my dealer can't get through. Lined up all the cocktails, put on my best shirt. Prepped up my COVID mix, but I can't get Zoom to work. So sing the COVID blues today to the NHS, hang tough, roll on, a better caring world can't get there soon enough. Running's good for you, they say, especially in the sun. But trying to spray the virus round the car really isn't much fun. Went down to Tesco shopping, the queue was round the block. I kept smiling at my neighbours till someone started to cough. Reports of community spirit in the news all the time. In fact, we're sitting watching the telly and tipping out the wine. So sing the COVID blues today to the NHS, hang tough. Roll on, a better caring world can't get there soon enough. Now Boris, he said, they saved my life. A joke would be too cruel, but I wonder if he gets it now, the underfunding truth. And as for our friend Gobi, no chance that he'll get sick. On such an operator, the virus just won't stick. Testing is the answer if we want to get through this. Somebody asked Matt Hancock why there aren't enough kits. So sing the COVID blues today to the NHS, hang tough. Roll on, a better caring world can't get there soon enough. 3 smokes in the shadows, they told him to lie low, because his COVID hedge funds have made him loads of dough. The economy's in free fall, the workers are all laid off. Nobody needs to worry, we'll be cared for by the tops. To tell at the microphone is not a pretty sight. She repeats herself like a robot. No wonder she's disliked. Went up to Barnard Castle. All that driving got me wrecked. But that's the place to go to now if you want to get your eyesight checked. So sing the COVID blues today to the NHS. Hang tough. Roll on a better, caring world. Can't get there soon enough. People in the NHS are dying every day. The truth is just so serious, there's nothing fun to take. Please tell this shaky government, cut the daily excuse. We'd rather have more PPE and the unvarnished truth. When this is finally over, we'll all be asking why. Did so many of our fellow citizens really have to die? So sing the COVID blues today to the NHS, hang tough. Roll on a better caring world, can't get there soon enough. So sing the COVID blues today to the NHS. Hang tough. Roll on. A better, caring world can't get there soon enough.
Thank you very much for sharing and for being our first ever video contribution. Thank you very much, John. Can we get a round of applause for that one, please? And let me unpin the video. Cancel spotlight.
I have to stop sharing.
Brilliant. That's it. Thank you so much, John. That's the first person to do that. Much appreciated, much appreciated. Although I will say videos look better in landscape on Zoom because it works. We record on phones that way, and then if you put them that way, they look better on screens. But yeah, you'll have guessed that now that you've seen it there.
I'll have to do the next one in landscape. Yeah, but thanks for having me. It's great. It's been a great evening.
Thanks for joining us. Right, I'm going to go for a poet. I'm giving you absolutely no warning, but that's because I know you don't need it. Mr. Alan English, are you in the house? Can you unmute yourself?
Oh, here we are. Yep, unmute. Unmute yourself.
And if I spotlight you, we should be able to see you too. There we go. Alan, I didn't give you any warning because I know you're an old pro like me. Take it away. Share with us a poem of your choosing.
Okay. First off, I just want to say this device I've got, I can't actually write comments on it, and I would have written a lot more. So just say, well done to all the poets who I've read so far, and yeah, well done to Cat Francois, old friend. I've not seen you in a while. It was a really, really moving set. So anyway, okay, got some new poems here. I dashed them out there, just before. So just before we kicked off, because I haven't written anything new in a while. Okay, so this two short ones, and I go like this. It's called Patriot. Patriotism is a fantasy, a false pride in the myth that mistakes uniformity for collectivity, born out of a longing for a past free of sin, embodied in all that is strange and other. Falsehoods begin their lives as facts, the fact of our need to belong, our need for our lives to have purpose, to have meaning. And out of this, the truth is played with until it becomes a lie in the mouths of charismatic predators. The anti-fascists of yesterday have become the fascists of today, infatuated with their own greatness, their own heroism. The England they pine for does not exist, never did exist, and never shall. That was Patriot. Okay, this one, for want of a better title, I've called it Lives Matter. Why do people need to die before we realize they matter? Why should suicide and murder be the catalyst for empathy? In the bland circle of privileged existence, struggle becomes invisible. Complacency accumulating on our souls like sugar fat on our bellies. Apathy perpetuates injustice. Silence kills. We can never stop learning how to shout. That's me. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Yeah. We are rapidly moving through, but thank you for sharing with us as usual. The only poet I know who is definitely Scottish, but known as English. I know I've said it 1,000 times, but I just love the fact that you are so definitively Scottish and yet known as English. It just gives me pleasure. It's the simple things, isn't it?
Mark, here's the kicker. My surname is actually Irish in origin.
Okay, you haven't in all the thousands of times you haven't told me that you're a Scotsman with an English name which is Irish. That's you're just putting an extra layer onto this.
Yeah, long story. Tell you some other time. But yeah, that's the truth. That's a fact of it.
Can we get a few whoops, a few claps, and a few clicks? And we are going to move swiftly on to what may well be our penultimate poet for the night, unless I've forgotten it. I think Wisdom's disappeared. I've got one other person that I've asked just to make sure that they were up for it. I've not got a response yet from Kemi, so if Kemi is up for it, that would be cool. But I've got David still to come for certain. If I've forgotten anybody else, please remind me in the chat. And I'm just going to spotlight. I'm going to spotlight David. Let's see if I can do that. Spotlight. David, you should be visible to the world, or at least to the world according to Zoom.
Hello, everybody. Great night. Wonderful to hear Kat. As always, an inspiration. This is a true story. It's about a guy whose picture is famous, a slave in the South. You can find a video collage of him and other escaped slave soldiers in the Union Army at the site I've just put into the chat room. Robert E. Lee. A missing statue testifies. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Peter, or maybe Gordon. Not much is known about me. I walked into the history books when we crossed the Union line. It was March of 1863, just outside Baton Rouge. We started out as 3. We finished as 2. 10 days of running and hiding, crossing water as often as we could, barefoot over the hard creek rocks, cutting up onions, rubbing them into our skin, trying to throw off the bloodhounds. When we finally crossed the Union line, we started to cry. We couldn't believe our eyes. The first soldiers we saw had black skin. They were African. They had been slaves like us. We joined the Union Army that day. We threw away our rags and put on the Union blue. When I took off my shirt, the white soldiers stared in horror. Some of them looked angry. Some of them cried. The black soldiers looked on without blinking. They'd seen it all before. My back is a history book. You can see America buried in the scars. Look at the photograph. The ridges are thick, the whip cut deep. But look at my face. Do I look bent and broken? My back is a witness for the truth. Look at the photograph. It was made into postcards. It toured the Union with a simple message. This is why you were fighting. This is what slavery does. My back is a weapon of war, strong and straight. I carried a backpack and a rifle, and I fought for freedom. No quarter was given to former slaves, so when they captured me, I was beaten, tortured, and left for dead. But I survived, grew strong, and went back to war. I served as a sergeant in the Corps d'Afrique. At the siege of Port Hudson, we led the charge. The records say I fought bravely. The records say I survived. Then nothing more is known. I disappeared from history, just one of 180,000. 180,000 former slaves, 180,000 Union soldiers, 180,000 African heroes. I was only one of them, but my back, my strong, straight and scarred back, tells the story of us all. So listen up, you lovers of history, you lovers of the truth as told by statues and monuments. Put your money where your mouth is. Tell the whole story. Give me my statue. Stand me side by side with your Robert E. Lee. Let us both be seen. Inscribe under his statue, I fought for slavery. Inscribe under mine, I fought for freedom.
Yeah.
Yay!
David asked me to read that about 10 days ago. I don't know if he was aware of the fact I refused to read it because I wanted to hear it. I didn't want to see it on the page. I wanted to hear it, and I'm so glad I made that decision, because it was never going to be as powerful on the page as it was when I heard it from you. That was effing awesome, with a capital F.
Oh, mute back up. I really encourage you to check the link and look at the video version. There's a lot of the Civil War was one of the first big wars to be photographed. Photography had just been invented quite recently. And there are a lot of photos of soldiers, and there are a lot of photos of African soldiers, almost all of whom were escaped slaves. And I first knew about this from reading the book Black Reconstruction by W.E.B. Du Bois, famous African-American intellectual and progressive kind of revolutionary, great historian. And there's this quote, he quotes this saying that Black people are the only people who have ever been freed, not by their own efforts, because it was the Union Army that fought to free them. And so a big chapter in his book is about the nearly 200,000 African soldiers that fought in the Civil War that are kind of erased out of history, even though their photographs exist to show they did exist. So anyway, if you get a chance, check out the video version with the collage.
We've just watched Hamilton on the channel of the big ears that I'm not too keen to plug because Disney's not the world's greatest philanthropist. But Hamilton touches on a lot of the issues here, and the writer is obviously very aware of the history, although it's all done in a very sweet way in order to make it acceptable to Broadway. The history is out there, but people need to go looking for it. People like David Lee Morgan are much more reliable sources than most that you'll find. So I want to thank David for coming and sharing again.
Could I just say about Hamilton, because I'm blown away by the artistry of it and by a lot of things of it, but the history is fucking bullshit. Alexander Hamilton wanted George Washington to become emperor of the United States. And that's just, he was an important person in the revolution and did some big things. He was an accomplisher, but he was not particularly accomplisher for good. And the history in Hamilton is just wrong. And he based his book on one of the few biographies of Hamilton that didn't tell it like it is. So I don't mean to spoil it. I mean, I've watched it 3 times already. You know, it's really worth watching and studying, but don't take your history from it.
I had this feeling you were going to say that, which is why I wasn't selling it. I was trying not to oversell it, although it was incredibly entertaining, and as you said, the artistry involved, the ability to sing, dance, rap, and look gorgeous at the same time, which pretty much covers the entire cast. I'm not quite sure about the bloke who plays King George, but I'm sure somebody would think that was gorgeous. It's just not for me. But everybody else pretty much ticked all of those boxes.
That Lafayette's rap, just right at the end of the first act, is worth watching the whole show for. It's just terrific. America's favorite fighting Frenchman.
Before myself and David get too caught up in discussing history, world politics, and how they can be staged on the West End, I've got one more open micer for this evening. We are going to manage to get in before 10:30, which is good, right? You will want to hear Kemi Taiwo because Kemi is awesome. Kemi, speak so that I know that you're there.
Hi, I'm here.
And now if I spotlight you, I should have given it. Can we just make some noise for David again? Thank you. Oh yeah. And now our last open mic for this evening is Miss Kemi Taiwo, who I kind of I press ganged at the last minute, but that's just because I wanted you to share it.
I didn't see a message from you anyway.
I did. I sent it on the Zoom chat in the private. You should have seen it, but then you're probably judging by this, you're on a mobile phone, so you'd have had to actually be looking at the chat. It should have come up at the top saying. I said anyway. Never mind.
Right.
You happy?
I've watched Hamilton twice on the channel. and Once in Theatre. I absolutely love the songs. I've been annoying everybody by singing them constantly. Eliza, sorry.
Yeah, well, can you make sure that your shot don't miss now? Come we go.
The poem that I'm going to do, I wrote last week, Friday, on the BMT Stories Live, because they had another free write. So I think everything I'm performing or writing recently has been free write. So this is another 6-minute free write where we were given a prompt for each.
It doesn't mean it's 6 minutes long. Do you mean she was given 6 minutes to write the damn thing? So just in case people was looking at their watches and getting worried.
Oh, no, it's quick. Sorry if you can hear my mum in the background. I'm at her house. But this is also her artwork. That's my brother's up there.
Hey, mommy.
Last night, I looked for a reason to put myself back into the search, into the real world, the post-corona normality, gravy train, rat race. I am happiest when I am creating, whether it is with my hands, my words, my thoughts, when I can take something and make it into anything. If you told me that corona would come around and turn my side hustle into my main hustle, that I would spend 6 months of the year engaged in nothing but the awesomeness of my little girl without a care in the world, I think I would have thought you were joking. Uninterrupted, joyous bonding, creating everlasting memories with paint, textiles, food, and cake. Waking daily to nothing but that beautiful smile on her face. Tomorrow, I will find a way to maintain this peace, continue this existence, live in this joy while slowly returning to the real world. That's it.
And is it at Kemi's Cakes that I'm supposed to be sharing? At Kemi's Cakes?
By Kemi.
By Kemi. Cakes by Kemi.
B-Y-K-E-M-I. By Kemi.
Cakes. B-Y-K-E-M-I.
That's it, yeah.
Okay, if you're on Instagram, follow Cakes by Kemi. You can find out more about...
Not Cakes by Kemi, just by Kemi.
Oh, just by Kemi. Sorry. You can't buy them, but you can buy them.
You can buy them.
You have to go to Buy Kemi in order to buy Kemi. And her cakes. And Kemi has been our last open micer. I'm sorry if anybody was desperately hoping that we were going to finish by 10 o'clock, because we didn't. But it was definitely worth having everybody on who we've had. I hope you really enjoyed this evening. Can I get another big shout for Kemi, for all the open micers,
You were absolutely amazing. I don't normally find myself, I normally listen to music, but I do find myself searching for your poems and just putting them on, because you just speak so much truth and you're so eloquent and you just touch my soul with your words. I think you're absolutely amazing. I'm really, really happy that I got to see you tonight as well. Just keep doing it. And I feel like every week, something else is another pow, it's coming out. It's really, really, you're amazing. Thank you.
That's kind of how it is with Cat Francois. This is just what we're used to. She's been doing it for some time, because I've been doing it a while and she was doing it before me. So and yeah, it's been really awesome. I knew you'd want to share. Right. Where's me? Forget Kemi. She's done her bit now. Where's me? Spotlight. Yes. Is it me now? Right. So that was poetry from the Grassroots featuring Cat Francois. We've had an awesome array of open mic. We've had the amazing Steve Tasane, who shared a poem and hosted the first half. You've had a bit from me. But this night is made by the people who turn up and listen, and by the people who follow us on the Facebook Live. So please give yourselves a round of applause for having turned up, because if no one was here, this wouldn't happen. I've seen that Kat has said in the chat that she's already seen a number of people have supported on the Ko-fi, whatever that lo-fi, Ko-fi, ko-fi.com/cat, K-A-T, Francois, Francois. That's just for all the people on the Facebook Live that aren't going to pay any attention. One more time, here's where you can donate. Ko-fi.com/cat Francois. You lot have been awesome. I've been absolutely feel fortunate to have been here and borne witness. Thank you for coming, but this is not the end, because Poetry from the Grassroots is back in 2 weeks' time, and we have the amazing Birdspeed. Oh my goodness, that's Tired Man talking. If you haven't seen Birdspeed, she is genuinely awesome. I think she may even be is she the Hammer and Tongue National Slam Champion at the moment? I believe she definitely, yep. She is, she's gonna be here. And if you're not here, you will regret it when you only get to see it on the live and you can't chat and you can't tell her that you're supporting the charity and she doesn't realize how much you love and are inspired by her work. So 2 weeks time, it's the 5th today, so that will be the 19th of July. And we've got 2 awesome poets lined up for August as well. So we are here every Sunday, every other Sunday, sorry, for the next at least 6 weeks. So we may eventually go to once a month, but and at least until September, we'll be here every 2 weeks. So please make sure you're here. Make sure you spread the word. I've been Mr. T. Thompson. You've been a flipping awesome audience. And although I may be tired and stumbling over my words, I'm genuinely giving love out to everybody who's turned up tonight. The atmosphere in this room has been electric. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope we'll see you all again on the 19th for Birdspeed. I'm not going to shut the room immediately, so if you want to have a chat in the chat, we may. That is all completely cool, and let people know how much you've loved everything that you've heard. I'm going to be quiet, put some music on, kick back and relax. Looking forward to hearing some chat from you guys. Make some noise!
Yay!
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Sarah, for inviting me. Thank you.
Thanks for coming, Nessa.
Thank you. See you in the next one.
Oh yeah, that's what we like to hear. That's what we like to hear.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.